This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more. Welcome back to 30 Deals in 30 Days. Today is day 29. We are almost done with the challenge. And Kevin has been waiting very patiently for me to underwrite this deal for him. I figured, you know what, we might as well make it a big challenge since we are wrapping up here pretty soon. And we're going to underwrite a deal in Barbados. I don't know anything about Barbados real estate whatsoever. Hey, you know what? We're along for the ride. You guys are along for the ride. We're going to have some fun doing this. So there's only 24 hours left in the challenge. So after this, you'll no longer be able to get my deal analysis toolkit. You'll be able to get my deal analysis toolkit. My underwriting spreadsheet, my underwriting AIs, access to my course, all of that kind of stuff, that will go away at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. So if you are joining us late on this challenge, I highly recommend you jump in, check that out before it's gone. All right, let's see what we've got here. He's saying, hey, Tyler, Kevin here from Barbados. As promised, I have the deal here I'd like for you to take a look at. Don't forget it's my birthday, right? So happy birthday, Kevin. We're going to be diving into your deal. Let's see what we can do here. All right, so U.S., $2 million, AC throughout, rental potential, suitable for conversion or redevelopment, 13,777 square feet of gross land area. So that's roughly a quarter of an acre. Two different brokers are co-listing this. Okay, looks like it's an office building. All right. I mean, look, if you're going to have office space, having an office down in Barbados doesn't sound too bad. Property is located on the outskirts of the Garrison Savannah, usually home to horse racing that hosts one major event per year, attracts tens of thousands of locals and tourists. The Garrison is a historic area with many heritage sites, but light foot traffic. Sits at an intersection of Highway 7, which is a major corridor along the south coast tourist belt of the capital. Bridge down another highway. Huge saturation in the hotel industry, south coast as well. Tourist arrivals continue to slowly climb. Prefer to stay away from hospitality. I mean, probably not a bad idea, especially in such a tourist destination. Hotels are high in maintenance and super expensive to build or finish. I would imagine especially in Barbados. Let's see. Does this have a property address? No, it does not. All right, let's go to the listing and see what information we can get from here. I'd love to pull this up on Google Maps and see really what we're looking at here. Let's see. Lifestyle Misfit is saying, I made it finally. LOL. Let's rock. Hell yeah. Let's rock and roll. How do I get those AI sheets? Do I still get the spreadsheets if I'm in the mastermind? Yes. Yeah. All of that is in the mastermind. And you can get access to those. Oh, Black Sheep. Yeah. What's up? Brand and channel change. Yeah. You've got access to all of that. So as a member of the mastermind, those AI tools will be on the left-hand corner. Or left-hand side of your portal when you log in. Should just say AI tools. They're pretty great. Z is here for the last day. What's going on, Z? Welcome to the show. Guys, we're underwriting a deal in Barbados. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. So have fun with me as we're doing this. All right, 8,900 square feet. Let's look. It's a very interesting looking office space. Like, it kind of seems almost residential to me. Okay, we got a wall unit. I look at the ceiling tiles. One of the first things that I do whenever I look at an office building, because that'll tell you how good a shape the roof is in. Looks like the roof is in okay shape here. You could tell that this is built to withstand some tropical storms and hurricanes. Look how thick those walls are. It's pretty wild. Run-of-the-mill kitchen. tile, wall units, bathrooms. Not a lot of pictures of the interior for a building that's 8,900 square feet. I find that to be a little interesting there, but hey, who knows? All right, it's called the Stafford House, 2 million square feet, $2 million. Man, I am out of it today. All right, so $2 million divided by 8,907 square feet gives us $224 a foot. So just running back of napkin math, all right, if we wanted to get, I would typically say I need to get a 12% build to cap rate on this, especially with it being office. That means I need to get $27 a square foot triple net. Typically with an office building like this, you can expect, at least in the States, $4 to $6 a foot in actual expenses. So you're talking $30 to $32 a foot full service is what we would have to get in order to make this deal work. All right, let's check out this map. It is out there. I mean, not bad though, right? Talking about, there could be some worse places to have an office. That's for sure. All right, let's see. Kevin saying, I hope you're doing my deal. I'm here to help. We are, Kevin. We're diving into it, man. Z, I hope you are adding hurricane insurance on underwriting. Yeah, there's going to have to be quite a bit of that for sure. Looks like this building is built to withstand it, though. I wonder how old it is. I don't think that I've seen anything that says how old the building is yet. It's usually a pretty good sign if something's, older than 20 or 30 years in the Caribbean. Okay. Not a lot of information on the listing page, or on that one at least. Let's come back over here and look at this. Oh, they both have different pictures. Well, that's fun. This gives us far more detail into the rooms. Oh, these look nice. They're not Class A by any means, but they're not in bad shape. I would want to know what's going on with those ceiling tiles right there. See that? Those stains or something. Maybe they had a wall system hanging there. Who knows? Okay. Yeah, pictures are kind of fine. Doesn't seem like it would need a substantial amount of renovations to make this habitable. It looks like there might not be any tenants in it, though. Let's see what it says. Four office suites in the building, 2 on the upper level, 2 on the lower level. Each suite has its own kitchen, ladies' and gents' toilets, 3 individual private office, central offices, and a boardroom director's office. Property is suitable for a variety of businesses. Okay, nice. So we got a 4-tenant property here. Kevin saying it looks like it was recently touched up. I mean, I wonder what websites you could even use to look at. Commercial real estate for lease in the Barbados area. This seems like that's actually just a specific business or like a specific real estate agency. We don't really want that. Okay, let's see type. Do they have office as a type? Maybe we'll just do commercial. Let's see. Man, this website is rough. All right, let's see what comes up on the commercial side of things. $3,150 a month office space. Let's see what we got going on here. $3.50 per square foot, which ends up being like $40. $350 times 12, that's $42 a square foot. So that's good. Let's see what this one is. This one's $1,000 a month. 600 square feet, and it's also $350 per month. Okay. Man, commercial real estate seems expensive in Barbados. We don't need to look at retail. Office space. Another one of $350 per square foot. Oh, Kevin's saying he's got the link in the document. Cool. I'll pull that up here in a minute. Z, the leases are cheap, $900 a month. Yeah. I mean, hey, it may not be a great place for $900 a month. You may not want to stay there. Who knows? I mean, hey, we can find stuff for $900 a month here in Nashville. I don't think you'd want to stay there. So, Kevin, what I would be curious about, I actually didn't think about this until now. Okay, they are in USD. I was going to say, is this in Barbados dollars or US dollars? So this is a one-to-one comparison. We don't have to translate that over into Barbados dollars. So that's pretty good. Yeah, look at that. The country's only 166 square miles. So the longest drive point between any 2 points on the island is 40 minutes. That's pretty funny. That means practically everything is going to be a comp, right? I mean, you're really looking at, like, Barbados is the size of a big neighborhood for the most part. Days on market, 6 months. Minimum, maximum, 41 to 63. Barbados, double net. Let's see. US dollars, blah, blah, blah. Oh, man, I feel like we just stepped back into like 2005 with this website. This is hilarious. Okay, so basically we have to divide these all by 2. If they're in Barbados dollars, we're talking closer to like $3.5 million for that. All right, let's see. Yeah, this is already sorted by office space for us. So 40,000 square feet. That's a big building for $3.5 million. Which is really, what, 175 US? Man, this website is terrible. Doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's like, look at the ceiling tiles, though. You can tell this is definitely not in nearly as good a shape as the building that we're looking at. Ooh, love that blue. Man, doesn't that just inspire you to do some TPS reports? Okay, this is a very, very different kind of building. Seems pretty nice. Nice tile on the floor. Wall units. That's a pretty decent office space. It's probably a pretty good comp. Might be a little bit nicer than what we're looking at. They are asking $7 million. So $3.5 million US divided by 6,000 square feet of building. They're asking $583 a foot. That's crazy. Kevin's saying these are the tools that I have to work with. Yeah, man, it might be a little bit easier to do some real estate in the States then. This is funny. But I mean, hey, when you're in Barbados, you're only 40 minutes away from everyone that could possibly have an answer for you. So probably pretty easy to stay on top of comps and what's transacting and who's looking for space and who's not. All right, let's look at this one. Man, they're really trying to make their money on ads. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? I don't know about you, but I'm not opening up my office here. A building looks like it maybe didn't survive the hurricane, and maybe they didn't have insurance. All right, here we go. This is like a commercially zoned home. This is nice. All right. Relatively on par with what we're looking at. Maybe a step below in terms of finishes. Okay, they're asking $1.9 million US for 13,500 feet. So that's $140 a foot. That's a little more reasonable. James saying, I believe Barbados is a British sovereignty, which will cause some inflation with the idea that infrastructure is kept up and in order compared to independent islands. Worked on a cruise ship for 7 years. Oh, that's pretty interesting. That's not something that I would have thought about. If you have pretty solid infrastructure as a Caribbean island, I mean, look, even Puerto Rico struggles with that, right? Like when hurricanes hit, or tropical storms hit Puerto Rico. I mean, there was one not too long ago that knocked the power out on the island for, I'm pretty sure it was months. Kind of funny going through all these comps. That's a decent comp. Look at that. Maybe a little more basement space than what we'd really want in ours. It was built in 05, 5,600 square feet. They're asking $1,250,000 US. So $223 a foot. And these prices are all over the place. I wonder what really actually dictates that. Okay, this one's sold for $3.8 million. So $1.9 million for 6,000 feet. So $316 a foot is what this sold for. I would say that's very comparable. So 316. Now, if we're looking at our deal here, this one is, pull this up again. Why am I not seeing the actual square footage? Man, these two listings need to just get together and have a conversation. There it is, 8907. They both have different information. Okay, so $316 a foot times 8907 values this at $2.8 million. So at the $2 million, we're at that 224. There was another comp that was like directly at that. Seems like a decent price based on what we've seen. I'm making a lot of assumptions here. The nice thing about like underwriting, at least in one country, is that I'm not having to think through, like what James just brought up with the infrastructure, right? Like the infrastructure in the States is the infrastructure. That's not something I have to necessarily worry about. That could be a big deal on a smaller Caribbean island. I don't know. There's so many unknown factors. it is kind of interesting to get out of my comfort zone and think about this, because now I'm thinking through all the stuff that's just so innate that I don't normally think about, which is kind of interesting. Now, let's see the additional. Oh, this one says it's 6,220 square feet. We've got conflicting listings. Now, if it's 6,220 square feet, then we're talking $321 a foot, which is closer to this building here as a comp. It's a lot higher, right? Keep in mind, if I wanted my 12% cap rate build to, we're now having to rent this thing for $45 a foot, full service. Okay, so looking through here. Wonder when the last time Google Street View was updated out here. $2019. And you can't see anything. Wouldn't that be like a really interesting job, though? Yeah, we need you to fly to Barbados and spend a couple weeks driving around. Twist my arm. Okay. Yeah, decent enough area. You've got some really tall walls. Wonder what this is. Light and Power Company Limited. Interesting. Garrison Savannah. Okay, so wow. So the horse race track is literally right there. Okay. And it looks like you might be on the border of territories, regions. I'm not sure what maybe you call it a state. Wouldn't think so, but you never know. Christchurch and St. Michael. Looks like the property, it actually goes through both. Typically how countries will handle that kind of stuff, it's like whatever side you're majority in is the one that actually ends up dictating. Obviously this is, same country, but let's assume maybe it was in Canada, and you had a property that was halfway across or 3/4 across the Canadian border and 25% across the American border. They would be paying Canadian taxes instead, typically. Parishes. Yeah, Kevin's saying there are parishes. Okay. That is their sole electricity company right across the street. I like that. They're very motivated to make sure that the power stays on in that area. So if you ever have a big weather event, they're going to be there for you. I think that's really interesting for you to be right next to the horse track. It's interesting. It seems like the southwest side of the island is where the majority of the development has been. Airport's over here. You're not far, you're not, look, we're on an island. You're not far from anything at all times. Okay. I feel pretty good about that. Kevin, is there anything in here that will show me how to look at 4 lease comps? This Barbados property, so let's do it. I'm going to pick Christchurch. All right, Let's just look at commercial over here. All right, well, there's nothing available in that area, so that doesn't help us. This is on the beach. This is going to be really tough. Oh, you know what? This is all for sale, isn't it? I mean, we can underwrite it at $350 a foot. Feel pretty confident in a lot of that. I mean, there were several listings we saw at $3.50 a foot. James is saying southwest corner is the cruise terminal. Check out the east side of the island. Crazy mushroom-shaped rocks on the beach. Interesting. Bathsheba. Not going to be able to drop it any further. James, I'm going to have to take your word for it, man. Unless I can drop in here. Oh, there's Bathsheba right there. No. Doesn't look like anybody's been to this side of the island. Huh. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Okay, well, let's see what we can do with this underwriting, guys. I'm going to assume that it's 6,220 square feet. If one of the brokers said it's that small, then I'm going to have to believe him. Got 4 tenants. I have no clue how quickly any of this will lease up. I don't even know how to start estimating that. Whoops. All right, $2 million. Capitalized rehab. I'm actually going to say, you know what? We don't need to bring anything to the table. This place is fine enough. Closing costs, let's say $40,000. Ooh, not $400. Let's look at this. How do commercial loans work in Barbados? See, guys, Google is my friend. Whenever I don't know something, let's go over here. Let's see. Often up to 15 years. Long-term financing, 15 years for the purchase. General requirements. Loan to value up to 75%. Interest rates, maybe negotiable. Okay, interesting. Webcam rip. Oh, what's going on there? Well, that's working. Ha! I'm not sure what's going on there. Let me see if I can fix this real quick, guys. Hey, all right, we got that. Is that back? Oh, it zoomed in a ton. Jeez. Thank you guys for letting me know. We're doing this live. All right, Kevin's saying 5 to 8% interest rates. Yeah, thank you guys for letting me know. Sorry, I'm just so in the zone. I don't know how that happened. Okay. Commercial real estate loan amortization in Barbados. typically 15 years, can be extended to 20 years. So it looks like we're going to have to underwrite maybe a 15-year term. Yeah, he's saying banking terms are 5 to 8% interest rates, 15-year amortizations, max LTV, at least from me, is 75%. That's good to see. See, guys, Google does have some stuff that works. Kevin's over here basically confirming everything that we're saying. So that's good to know. Now, this is going to be interesting. You're going to see how much a 15-year amortization, because we haven't actually underwritten anything with a 15-year amortization, how much that will actually impact this deal. Now, I'm going to assume that they give us a 75% loan to value. We're getting 7% interest, and then I'm getting $3.50 a foot, which is $42 full service. All right. Now I've got to fix these because I messed them all up yesterday. That's a good thing I marked them in red. Okay. Now we got to increase this to a 3% per year. Potential rent, $261,000. Not bad for a $2 million investment. However, let's say that I'm mostly vacant the first year, right? So 75%. We have 4 tenants. Technically, that would say, oh, maybe we just sign one lease at the very beginning when we buy this, and then we sit there for a year. Or it could technically be we sat there basically all year and then signed 2 leases at the end of it, right? There's a couple of different ways. Unfortunately, with the way that this spreadsheet is set up, there's no way for me to get hyper nuanced with that. We do have another spreadsheet inside the mastermind that goes way more in depth on that type of stuff. Kevin's saying, I think that office property currently has 2 tenants, a lawyer and a dentist. Well, it is unfortunate for those brokers that they are not going to get any credit for that whatsoever because they did not include any financials or any mention of that in their listings. So, okay, we'll drop in 25% and then we'll stabilize at 7% moving forward. Maybe even, we'll just see how that goes. That could be high. I don't know. We don't know anything, guys. It's Barbados. I've never underwritten anything there. I'm going to assume probably $7 a foot. Maybe $6 a foot. I have no idea what are property taxes in Barbados. Subject to an annual land tax of 0.95% on the improved value of the property. So I would say that the improved value of the property is going to be probably 80% of this purchase price. So let's just say that that's the case. So 80% times $2 million times 0.0095 is $15,200 a year. So that's about half. What are commercial property insurance rates? General estimate is around 0.6% of the property's value. That's really cheap. Never mind. That's $12,000 a year. So now we're at $27,000. You're probably going to need another $5,000 to $10,000 in maintenance, common area, all that kind of stuff. And it looks like in our underwriting right now we're sitting at $37,000. I think you're going to be at every bit of that, right? Especially if you've got utilities included. Maybe we're actually going to be closer to $7 or $8 a foot. It seems like this might be a relatively expensive property to deal with. Let's see here. I'm going to assume that Kevin's going to handle the lease up himself. So we don't need to bother with any commissions whatsoever because Kevin is going to go out there and he's going to knock this out. Knock down those doors, baby. So we struggle the first couple of years, but we do hit our debt service coverage ratio in year 3, which is good to see. They did say that you could negotiate for some interest-only period. I'm going to assume that that's not the case. It may be, and Kevin, feel free to jump in if you disagree. But I'm going to assume that we're going full principal and interest. Day 1. We'll do no asset management fee. Kevin is buying this on his own. And then I would say probably 25 cents a foot. That's not enough. I would say 50 cents a foot in reserves. You know, since it's smaller, you've got 4 tenants, you might still be able to actually structure this as a triple net lease, or maybe even like a modified gross lease with a base year expense stop. I actually think that base year expense stop leases are better than triple net deals. People don't really talk about that very often. Maybe I need to do a video on why I think that. But essentially, a base year expense stop allows you to convert a full service gross lease into a triple net lease as the lease goes on. So when a tenant, you know, is looking to rent the space, you say, oh yeah, it's $5,000 a month plus, you know, any your share of the expenses as they increase on the property. Very easy for a tenant to understand. But now you get to quote them a one lump sum payment, right? Instead of saying, oh, well, it's this base rent plus this additional rent, and you got to pay for your utilities. You know, some tenants just get really confused. I'm going to assume an 8% cap rate on this one. We don't know, guys. We are making a stab in the dark. Look at that. If this pans out, and I feel like we're being conservative, we're doubling our money in 5 years. Now, Kevin is saying I have to syndicate. So let's go back. We're going to say 2% asset management fee. Kevin's going to take 30% because he found a hell of a deal. He's worth it. All right. So now our investors are not making nearly enough money. So it ends up being a 60% return over 5 years. Not worth getting out of bed for, right? So if you're doing the solo, deal makes a lot of sense, right? Now, let's see where we have some room to play with. First of all, I think the purchase price, probably too high. I think it's probably closer to $224 a foot, but there's no way we're going to be able to get that. But let's say we negotiate with the seller for $1,750,000. If that is the case, if we get it for $1,750,000, with that, we hit our debt service coverage ratio year 2.5, give or take. We cash flow an okay amount. I mean, nothing to write home about. But you're doubling your money when you sell it at an 8% cap rate. I feel like that's relatively conservative, right? So 20% annualized cash on cash return, that's pretty good. Now, guys, I want you to pay attention to this. 100% and 20%, all right? So that's doubling your money over a 5-year period. That's with a 15-year amortization. Let me show you just what it does when we switch this to a 20. Remember your cash flow was like closer to 8%? Now it goes upwards of 11.5%. Your overall returns actually do end up being a little bit higher. The biggest difference is, because I mean, we're talking about the difference between 20% annualized returns and 21.5%. That's not a massive amount, but it does make a difference. But the biggest thing is how much cash flow you're able to distribute to your investors during the deal, right? And they tend to like that. And also, we hit our debt service coverage ratio in year 2 because it's a lot lower of a threshold. Unfortunately, Barbados seems to say, hey, we only like 15 years. So we'll keep it at that. All right? So, Kevin, that's where you would need to be. You'd need to be very confident at $3.50 a foot per month. You need to be very confident in $7 a foot per year in expenses, right? Keep in mind, we don't have any commissions in here because you're hustling for it, right? That's part of your 30% for syndicating this deal. You're going out, you're finding the tenants, you're making it happen, all right? Now, we're also saying that we have a relatively conservative lease up, I think. I mean, we're saying it's going to take us 3 years to actually get this thing stabilized. Now, what if it ends up being a little more turnover throughout the term than we think. And we only really stabilized at about a 10% vacancy rate. Well, we don't cash flow as much. We still almost double our money though, right? So there's a little room for play in there, all right? Which is good. That's really what you want as you're going through any type of deal. You want to make sure that you've got enough room so that if things go kind of wrong, you're going to be okay, all right? Kevin, I don't know that there's anything else in here that I would want to mess around with unless maybe you said, hey, let's bring 30% down and see what that looks like. The nice thing about that, when you're playing with a 15-year amortization, the more money you bring down, it should start to actually help you juice your returns a little bit. So keep in mind, we still had the 10% vacancy rates on there. We're getting upwards of 8% cash on cash return by year 5. We're at 82%. So it actually dropped down a little bit. Is that right? That makes sense because I guess you're bringing more money to the table. Yeah, look at that. So you cash flow a little bit more by year 5, but your overall returns actually go down if you do that. So pretty interesting. But that's how I like to stress test these deals. You can do a lot of really interesting things with them. If like inside this spreadsheet, if you wanted to run all sorts of different scenarios, which makes it a lot of fun. James is saying, not related, saw a net lease, in quotes, the other day. Which expenses do those leases usually cover compared to triple net? So like if we're talking about a base year expense stop, it'll cover all of them, right? Typically what I would do is I would have them pay for their own utilities. But what I'll say is, hey, I mean, because you as the landlord get to really set that up. Kevin, I didn't have anything in there for capitalized rehab. I just assumed that we were going to take it and lease it up as is. So the base year expense stop, I will have them break out their own utilities. They pay for that. But as the landlord, you get to say, well, you know, it's 2025. My current expenses are $7 a foot. I want $25 a foot net. So I'm going to ask $32 a foot plus utilities as a base year expense stop. So in 2026, when you get your new expenses, they pay the difference, right? So that's how all that works. Kevin, that was fun. That was a fun exercise, man. I've never underwritten anything in Barbados. I guess I could add that accolade to my award case now. Appreciate you guys for doing that. Thank you guys for joining me for day 29. Remember, day 30, tomorrow, is the final day. It is the final deal that we will be underwriting. It is not the final time we'll ever live stream, but this challenge is almost over, guys. If you want to continue to underwrite with me, you want to continue to work with me on your deals, feel free to check out the mastermind. We'll love to have you guys. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going live and answering all of y'all's questions. So here to help however I can. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more.